Hi everyone, I am having fun making my lovely blue ice, or excuse me, ice blue pattern, and I wanted to share with you kind of the process of using the freezer paper. So my templates end up coming out, so I've adapted them here for previous color to the new colors here. And I trace that onto a piece of freezer paper here. And there's a shiny side and a dull side. And the dull side is the side I write on, and the shiny side is the side I stick to the paper. Now, one of the things I do when I trace them is I use a ruler to just kind of make sure that my lines are straight when I do my tracing. But then the first thing that I do is I fold this before I even use it. And that way I make sure that my lines are really good and crisp. And then I very carefully will fuse the back of these on here. So I'll demonstrate. So as you can see, I have fused this on here. All I did was take a hot iron and set it on here. And this is the 12th use of the same piece of freezer paper. So the wonderful thing is you can use this so many times. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold down on this line here. And we're going to trim this piece about 1/4 of an inch. So I use, my ruler here, and I will take 1/4 of an inch and cut that off. You may ask, why do I cut this one off? Well, that one says D2, so it's my second one. And I've labeled these periwinkle and ivory and cobalt so that I know what colors to put in there. So just in case I, get up and forget, which often happens, I will remember, because of that. And then I just gently sew right along next to it, and I'll scroll in here so you can see. I have, let's see, oops, not quite close enough. There we go. So I have my quilting foot on here, and I am putting that edge right here, right there, right up against that lovely piece of paper. So I'm not sewing on the freezer paper, I'm sewing next to it, right next to it. So my next step will be to press this. Oops. My next step here is going to be to press this just like this. Okay, so I have, opened that piece up. I'm going to press this just like this. So as you can see, I've pressed it to it. It sticks to it. So this is the beauty of the freezer paper. And next thing I have to put on is D3. So I'm going to kind of peel it off. I'm going to fold it there. And now I'm going to trim right here. So now I've trimmed right there. I'm going to take my next piece. I'm going to put it on here. So I kind of line it up here so I know that my fold lines will be good. And I center that on that. And so my next piece is underneath here. I've lined up my edges. Okay. And now I'm going to sew these two pieces together. All right, I've sewn these two pieces together. I'm going to fold this out like this. And again, I'm going to press here. All right, I've pressed here. And my next fold line is here along D3, D4. So I'm going to fold this here. And as you can see, I have a lot of excess fabric here. So I'm going to, again, trim 1/4 of an inch away. All right, so I've trimmed 1/4 of an inch away. And now I will take the last piece here, line it up along the edge. I have learned that lining up the edge on the bottom works best for me. And we're going to quickly sew this together here. Right along this edge. I fold this open. And again, I'm going to press this so that this adheres well. All right, we're back. This is all adhered. And now our next step here is to trim this out. I make sure that my 1/4 inch line is right on the line that I've traced here for my seam allowance, just in case, I've occasionally shaved off the edge. You want to make sure that you're using your seam allowance line rather than the edge. Okay, so I trim these off, and you may ask, well, what are you using with these? Well, I hold them aside for either a different project or later in this project. And we trim these all off, as you can see, relatively quickly. Small pieces like that I would toss. Larger pieces I'll keep. Again, line it up here. Those are some keepers. And as you can see, now there's one last trick that I'm going to show you after I finish trimming all this up, which is there are little corners right here, and these are really actually special. And I mean, you could do without them, but the reason that they're there is that they help you line up where your next pieces are going to go together. So when you do your next piecing, it kind of gives you some decent ideas of when you sew some pieces together. See this little notch right here? That's where when you sew this seam allowance, it should come right to that edge of that notch. And what this will look like when we get these all put together for portion of the block is a portion of the block. There'll be 4 of these, and they form like this. So this is the next step, is sewing 4 of these together. And eventually we'll put the corner pieces on right here so we finish out the block. But this is where we are so far.